Hello and welcome to the Big Bang Theory podcast. My name's John. I'm here with my friend and colleague Dan.
Hello.
We've got an absolute action-packed one for you today, listeners. Exeter City have scored no goals in 2 games. They've also conceded no goals. 2 0-0s, Dan.
Yeah, well, 2 pulsating 0-0s to talk to you about. There
spoil
was
ya.
talk. You might be pleased or not to hear that there was talk that we were going to rebrand as a Big Bays Theory podcast and talk about the snooker.
Not Ashley.
But no, unfortunately not. But we've decided to, stick with it.
Stick with it for now.
Yeah, for now.
Forest Green's pitch last night was a bit like a snooker green, wasn't it? It was.
It was. I mean, that's really kind of, and we were still hoofing it, weren't we? Still booting it up in the air.
Yeah.
Kind of dispelling the kind of a lot of some of the myths about pitches that we suspected to be true.
Indeed. So City on Saturday drew 0-0 with relegation potential. What do you call them? Potential relegators?
Relegation hopefuls.
Relegation unhopefuls. Southend United.
Phil Brownsville, Southend United.
It was, yeah. He was there, being a bit of an arse, as you'd expect.
Who have you seen him? He's been at St James's Park before, hasn't he?
I
But
can't
who was he
remember.
managing?
Where was he between Hull and here? Can't remember.
Oh, did we really play Hull? I know.
No, he wasn't at Hull when we played him.
I know that was years ago.
Yeah.
Hull, wasn't he? I've seen him on the touchline at St James's Park before, and I can't remember who for.
Yeah, ditto. But there he was. Handkerchief round his neck. Probably gold rings on his fingers.
Bit embarrassing, isn't it?
What, the look?
Yeah.
It is a bit embarrassing. But more embarrassing was the fuss he was making about everything. It was good to see potential thug Darren Drysdale as referee.
Taking his life in his hands, sort of shouting at Drysdale. Is it Drysdale or Drysdale?
Drysdale, I think, yeah. Yeah.
Risky business.
It is a risky business. Yeah.
Knock your block off.
He's a big lad, isn't he, old Drysdale?
It was nice to have him. I mean, it's sort of like a treat for us that he. I mean, don't know if the listeners are aware, but this guy sort of nutted
Ipswich Town
an
player.
Ipswich player. I didn't quite nut him, but he pretty much did.
So he's
Squared
kind of
up to him in the middle of a match. So
yeah.
I think he's now doing League Two for a bit as kind of penance, having had a little ban, and now he's sort of back. But you've got to go and do your dues down in League Two, which is great for us because, like, sure, he's a bit leery, but he's better ref than most of the other ones you normally do League Two.
I think Exeter felt safer as a whole knowing that he was there. You know, like, if there's a fight happening, like...
They wouldn't even to bother having stewards if there's people at the match, would they?
No, he'd just come over and bellow at you.
Yeah, imagine trying to run on the pitch within there.
No chance. Absolutely clobber you.
Clean your clock.
You would. So Drysdale was there. Phil Brown was there. Exeter City were there. The Chipnickers were there, Southend. And, I mean, they look like a team that have been reinvigorated under Phil Brown.
Yeah, he'd got them drawing, hadn't he?
Yeah. And we looked like the worst team for certainly the first half, maybe most of the second half as well. It was I think we were fortunate to come away with a point, and City were very much in the old mould of punt it and see.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
So much headering, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but certainly on Saturday...
I honestly struggling to really have much of a clear recollection of it, to be honest. I really am. I mean, I don't want to do anyone a disservice. But I think we were punting. But honestly, we just watched, in 1 week, 2 back-to-back 0-0s, League 2 0-0s, and when people start talking about European Super League, everyone else is, against it. I'm thinking I think, to be honest, I'm only joking, of course, but,
Well, it'd be nice to see a bit of passing, wouldn't it? It would be nice to see that.
Yeah, so... It wasn't good, was it? I think first half I don't remember us having any meaningful chances.
They had quite a lot of chances. They had a lot of the ball.
They had a couple. I think they hit the bar first half,
if
I remember rightly. And yeah, not much else really.
Second half, I think it was injury time or just before full time. Atangana, to say he should have scored is unfair because it was an unbelievable shot from him. Kind of got it out from under his feet.
Yeah, I mean he whacked it sort of about as hard as he could. And I imagine, Nige can hit a ball pretty hard,
Yeah. He's got a lot of leg with
he's
which...
about 7 yards out.
Yeah.
And somehow the keeper just gets in the way of it. I mean, if you were being really critical, you could say Atangana could have put it somewhere where the goalie couldn't save it, but he had the strength in the shot that it shouldn't really matter. Somehow this guy saved it anyway. But I think it would have been a bit unfair to Southend if we'd won that game, to be honest. As disappointing as it was to have drawn it, especially when, we're coming very near to the end. You look at the games we got left, especially after, that was... And you think, I don't know, they're not all... You don't think, oh yeah, we're definitely going to win all these.
Well, if we...
One of the ones you think, okay, we should and could win is Southend at home.
Yeah. If we don't make the playoffs, which is obviously very plausible, you'll think, well, it's fair enough. If we can't beat Southend at home, we probably don't deserve to be in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we'll look back on a lot of these. We'll look at...
Yeah.
We had 0-0 Walsall as well. 0-0 Harrogate.
Yeah. Lost to Crawley away.
Lost to Harrogate. Lost to Crawley. Lost to Oldham.
Lost to Barrow.
Yeah. And these things happen. It's League Two. But,
It's a very inconsistent year, isn't it? And...
Yeah, we've also beat Tranmere 5-0. Cambridge 4-1. It's this sort of like... I know it's just a crazy year, isn't it? I think we have to put it all down to that.
We're not unique in that either, are we?
No, absolutely not. And you can tell that by the fact that, your form drops off an absolute cliff and you're still within about a point of the playoffs.
Yeah. We've been within a point of the playoffs for now a month.
Yeah.
And
yet in a month, we've, I think, failed to score in 4 of our previous 6 games.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So then we travelled to Forest Green, the new lawn, the
innocent new lawn.
The innocent new corn.
The innocent new corn lawn. The grass is 100% edible, apparently.
Is it?
Yeah.
What if you haven't got 3 stomachs, though?
Even to them.
Wow, fair play. Dale Vince's innocent new corn lawn. City are up there. There is a broad range of advertising hoardings at the new lawn, isn't it?
I saw the corn one.
Corn.
Oh, there was.
And you get like pucker pie vegan, fine. And then you get like...
They're nice, them.
Obviously Eco-Tristy, they are nice. Well, you get like Eco-Tristy, obviously that's Vince's company. And then you get some like, the best barbers in Stroud. And then Jilly Cooper.
Jilly Cooper?
The novelist,
She's taken out advertising at
Yeah.
the new lawn, is she?
I've never read any of them, but I think it's like posh woman riding on a horse, fancies the vicar, hops off and they, cop off.
Sounds fantastic.
I think if that's the kind of thing you like, then...
I didn't see that.
Yeah, right in the corner, Jilly Cooper. So, fair play for that broad range of... I'd like to see Hilary Mantel start advertising at St James Park.
Yeah, why not? Len Dayton?
Hilary Mantel lives in Devon, at least.
Oh, right.
I'm not just suggesting, well-used library book novelists. You get Mantel in the corner. Her tagline could be something like, "You know what happens, but I'll take you on a ride. Read the latest novel about Henry VIII."
Right, so you're trying to sort of combine the two things here. Football and...
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I see what you mean about Cooper.
What, the books?
Yeah.
Dan's currently looking at some
The
saucy...
front cover, this
cover.
book. If you're listening to this and you're on access to Google, just Google Jilly Cooper Riders and check out that front cover.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You'll love it, yeah.
Ay caramba.
I'll put it on Twitter for those of you who can't.
NSFW, I think we should
access
say
it.
for that.
Oh, we're going to have to.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to. I'm going to read one. I think it's only right.
Okay. As a separate podcast, just you reading them in like a...
Well, I could do that if you want. If you want that, please
for the
email
off-season?
in.
Yeah, all right. Let us know. Anyway, I don't know if Forest Green have been reading Jilly Cooper to get themselves riled up
Does
before
he
the
know?
game.
Is she round there? Or
I'm assuming so.
Is she mates with Dale Vince or something?
No,
like
it's Cotswolds, isn't it? I was put in the same category as like Camilla Parker Bowles, who definitely is from around those parts.
Yeah. Well, Prince Charles, they're his local club, probably, aren't they?
I would think so.
What's it called? That house?
Forest Queen. Highgate.
Highgate. Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I mean, everything I know about Prince Charles is from The Crown, of course.
I know about his big ears.
So, talking of big ears, you might have needed big ears to hear any highlights in the first half up at Forest Green. It was, again, diabolical. First 20 minutes, the same again. And I was like, if I was there, I never want to be this kind of person. I don't think I've ever been it. But I would go down to the hoardings and I would scream.
Remonstrating wildly.
Yeah, I would. Get on the ground!
I wouldn't like that. I don't like it.
Honestly, absolutely maddening, wasn't it?
It was.
Just like header. Forest Green the same as us. Header. Get it to the feet of a defender. Punt it forward. Header.
Well, I mean, the most notable thing, really, of the first half was that Rory McArdle got plucked.
Hooked
Early doors.
Yeah.
25 minutes in. I mean, Forest Green, to be fair to them, had done their homework and we realised we don't like a high press.
Yep.
Because you can kind of, obviously the risk of a high press is you leave yourself a bit exposed at the back, but they're thinking, well, they're toothless anyway, unless, at least it's a gamble that we may well be toothless. Cambridge might argue otherwise, but so McArdle, he looked like he was getting turned inside out, wasn't he, by that Forest Green fella.
Yeah.
And I felt sorry for him, when he got taken off. Not because he was getting taken off, because he had to go. I think it was the right call.
It was a blessed mercy.
It was. What's
unfortunate is that he went then straight...
The kindness.
He had to go straight to Switzerland to be euthanised.
Melted down for glue.
I mean, he is now 110, so what can you expect?
Yeah. So Sweeney came on for him. And it was... afterwards, they interviewed Taylor and said, was that for... I mean, it was pretty obvious, but was that because of Rory McArdle was injured? And he went, no.
Man. Matt Taylor would also get a job in one of those Swiss clinics, wouldn't he, applying the fatal medicine.
Well, I think one of the things you need for that is to be very kind of unemotional. And he said himself that he doesn't have any emotions. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Something to think about, Matt.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a separate career. Anyway, we probably dwelt on that too much, but it was diabolical.
Very morbid.
And then, of course, actually it improved. Now, I really noticed, and I want to give particular kind of credit to Collins and Taylor, who really were trying to get it down, in spite of their teammates.
Yeah, and they managed it.
And they did. From then on, I thought they managed it.
Well, I mean, what can you do if your fullbacks are just booting it every time? You need you need a bit of bravery to be able to play it out, find the space and be calm enough on the ball when it comes to you to play it to Collins or Taylor on the ground, because the safe option and the easy thing to do to avoid anything is just, get it away, Yep.
Yeah.
Away.
But that's what someone else would be screaming at the hoardings. But it was mind-bogglingly awful until that change happened. So again, credit to Taylor. And then, so we kind of got into the game, didn't we, first half? And started to create a bit. And we had a few kind of half chances. Or certainly, we had some balls around the box, which we hadn't had at all until then. And then second half, much better, I thought. I mean, Forest Green had chances too.
They did. I think they hit the post in the first half, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
And... yeah, they had a lot of chances, actually. There was one that fell to the guy, and he just... what happened there? And he sort of didn't... realise it was there, did he? And we sort of, made a mess of clearing it, and it looked like...
someone fell over. Was that McArdle at that point?
Yeah, and Anderson didn't know whether he could pick it up or not, and then ended up... we were let off the hook a few times, weren't we,
Yeah.
But, I think on the whole, the performance... like you said, it got better in the second half. They had chances in the second half too, though. On the whole, that was all right, I thought.
Well, Forest Green are obviously normal promotion, they still are promotion rivals. They're in bad form, but they've changed the manager. Cooper's gone, hasn't he? And I think a 0-0 away at Forest Green normally.
On paper, decent result, isn't it? Yeah.
Result. Sweeney could have scored, and he was free at the back post.
Oh, I got to hit the target there, Sweens.
Yeah.
That is. The thing is, it's frustrating.
Was that from a corner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because recently our kind of set pieces have been woeful, It's almost no point having a corner, it seemed like at times.
Yeah.
And these free kicks, they either do absolutely maddening short corner routines, which never, ever seem to work.
Yeah.
Or we don't beat the first man, or they're just easily kind of taken by the keeper or headed away. And last night, there were actually some decent deliveries.
Yeah.
I think it's
Jay
Matt Jay
and
and Williams taken from the other side. And some good deliveries, and then we couldn't get on the end of them.
Yeah.
And then maybe you could argue we're out of practice because we don't get anywhere near the.
Well, yeah.
I don't know, but it was a bit frustrating. But like I said, really, in isolation, wasn't a bad. I don't think particularly bad performance, and not really a bad result. You know, like if you were on a promotion run and in good form, I'd think going away to Forest Green Rovers this season and getting a 0-0, you go, okay, it's a point and a clean sheet.
Yeah.
And if you were in a bigger, in a good run of form, I'd take that. It's just the context. Context changes based on the other results we've had before. The fact that you've drawn 0-0 in the same week against a team at the bottom of the league then means that the Forest Green result isn't as good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But I think maybe is there positives to take from it? I'm not sure. We still really struggle to create anything meaningful. Although I think maybe there's possibly some signs of life compared to the Southend game.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Like you look back on our games. I mean, you can go way back, and I'm planning to, but that Orient 4-0, right? That was 6th of March, so just over a month ago. We beat them 4-0, massive. Then we went away to Scunthorpe, beat them 2-0. You're like, okay, we're cracking on here. Then we had Cheltenham at home and we lost 1-0. Well, Cheltenham have been and have continued to be in form.
Yeah, and that was a last-minute long throw, bear in mind, as well.
Yeah,
so
right.
in kind of an individual error, otherwise fairly decent performance. And like you said, they were flying at the time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the start of their kind of run of, they've been good all season, but they're real they really hit a good patch around that time. And yeah, so you take that. These aren't the ones
No, it's then. So then we lose to Tranmere, which is obviously really frustrating, particularly after the Cheltenham game. Then we lose to Oldham, which is mind-numbingly annoying. Then you go and beat Salford, and you think, oh, okay, we've remembered. Then you lose to Port Vale, who I know are in form. 0-0 at Mansfield, home at Mansfield. And you think, oh, I don't know where this is going. You feel like this is just petering out. Then we go and thump Cambridge.
Yeah, we're all over the shop.
We're all over the shop.
I think I put it down to, I suppose, this. You got to kind of let pretty much everything slide really this season, haven't you? I mean, it's like we've gotten used to how strange everything is, and then you start going like, oh, come on! Like, I mean, it's like we don't play 2 games a week. Football teams in this country. Matt Taylor's saying currently we're not even training.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because you haven't got time.
No, I know.
And, and so I know we have in previous weeks sort of gone mental about it and stuff. And I'm still think we can criticise the performances and some of the ways that we play. But I think possibly overall it's going to be, this isn't how it's supposed to work. You're not supposed to do to. But on the other hand, same for everybody, isn't it?
Same for everyone, yeah. I wonder if this isn't a criticism of them because they've all gone above and beyond. But the younger players, obviously, for some of them, it's their first season.
Yeah, I think what I'm trying to say is it's probably a reason for the inconsistency.
Yeah. And as we've said, most other teams are similarly inconsistent. Cambridge, since we beat them, have gone on and won a lot of games. So.
Yeah. I think that when you're getting these kind of like weird anomalous things happening, it's because it's a weird season, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right about the young players. I think it's easy to forget that these kids were still in short trousers before this season started. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And because the season's been so long, or feels like it's been so long, feels like they've been around a long time now.
Exactly. Yeah, you kind of think, oh, they're old. I kind of think of Josh Key as a veteran now. Yeah. I kind of put him in the same category as like Clinton Morrison or Steve Flack.
Yeah, Don Goodman.
Really, it's still only his first season.
Well, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And you've got,
Yeah, okay, well...
We've got a fair old bit of disruption as well. There's other things, isn't there? Like Law leaving and the big injury to Randell, the big injury to Randall. These are some of our best players. Those are 3 of our best players at the start of this season. But then you've got Bowman's managed to stay fit and Matt J. Matt J's been brilliant. Bowman at times has been very effective. I don't like when he's like. There's another thing last night where he got in another little bit of scuffle.
Yeah.
And I'm bored of that. I'm bored of him being like that.
Don't you think it's displacement? You think he's just like when he can't do anything else effective?
I know it is, and it does work. I know winding players up is a good technique, but I'm just saying, me personally, when he does it, I just think like, just stop it.
Oh, I agree.
Like, just
I
get
agree.
on with the game. Like, you're not playing well enough to justify being this little shitty kind of character that you.
It's strange, isn't it, in that we still talk about, and we, rightly or wrongly, want to be a certain kind of team. The rest of the squad seem to be very much kind of gentle fellas who, I'm not saying Jake Taylor doesn't stick a boot in every now and then, but, essentially wants to be encouraging and appease situations, all that kind of stuff. So we've got essentially most of the squad who are these essentially nice guys.
Yeah.
And then we've got this complete lunatic.
It's a bit of double standard. Jake Taylor will quite happily roll around on the floor if it thinks he's going to win us a free kick, even if he's not hurt. But it's not that. It's the kind of like he's making faces at the defenders. And I know these are some of the best strikers ever have done this sort of thing, and maybe that's why it stands out. Yeah, maybe I'm not even really criticising it, and it's just kind of like, I don't know. It'll probably work because the point of it is to wind up the opposition players. Now, if it's winding up his own fans, then think what it's doing to them.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just, but then you need to score the goals too, right?
We would like you to score a few goals, Bowman. It's been a while now, hasn't it?
Well, you got that header, didn't you, against Cambridge? It almost doesn't count, does it, that?
No.
It very much does count. Let me get that right straight. But what I mean is that's kind of like right in the middle of like, it doesn't fit with all the kind of the dross.
No, but then you think Cambridge, he's now had 3 games without a goal. Well, I mean, we've only scored 1 goal in 3 games, and it's...
Yeah, I know.
It's, that's the kind of real frustration, I think. Okay, so there's more to talk about in a minute after this break. See ya. Welcome back to second half of the podcast. We're really approaching the end of the season now, Dan. There's 4 games left, spread over 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks' time, we'll know how the season has panned out to some extent.
Yeah, and then we'll be taking a well-earned break during the summer.
Unless
we get the playoffs, which is unlikely. And we'll probably go for I'll go for a swim in the sea, probably.
All right.
That's what I'll tell you. Won't be going for a swim in the sea.
Who's that?
Randell Williams.
No, he will not.
Hates it.
I tell you who also won't be going for a swim in the sea.
Who?
Rory McArdle. He'll have to go to the Dead Sea to lie in it, like old folks do, to heal their arthritic bones.
Yeah, I mean, it's
got healing properties,
I like how you got there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, 4 games left. This week, Saturday, Newport at home. They're absolute promotion rivals. If we beat them, we go above them on goal difference. Then
They won last night as well, didn't they?
They won last night. So, our records are much the same, really. They've won 2, I think, and then drawn 2 before that. Then Grimsby on the Tuesday. Then Bolton the following Saturday. And then there's actually a gap for once. It's Barrow the following Saturday. So, yeah, it's all...
Wow. And that's the last day of the season. That could be over. It could be over by then, couldn't it?
Could well be over by then. So, just to give you the league, Dan, because you didn't ask... most teams have played 42, or most teams that matter. So realistically, we can only catch Forest Green in 6th on 66, Newport directly above us, 7th place on 65, Weir in 8th place on 62, with exactly the same record directly behind us is Salford. They got 62. They've won, drawn, and lost the same as us. Our goal difference is better. And then underneath them, it's Orient. They played a game more. They're 1 point behind us and Salford. So we could end up getting beaten by all of them teams. Obviously, if we beat Newport Saturday, we overtake them. If we don't beat them, that's probably it.
Yeah.
I know we've got Barrow and Grimsby. They probably won't get relegated because... sorry, I'm wrong. Barrow probably won't get relegated. Grimsby are probably already down.
Right.
So... I mean, who knows? Such a stupid season anyway.
Unless, aren't Cole you still in danger of getting a points deduction?
Oh, I suppose they are.
Who knows? Some of these times these things happen after the season ends. So this happened before, didn't it?
Yeah, it's too late by then, isn't it?
So who knows about that? But yeah, it could well be out of our hands. But we can only take them as they come, I suppose.
obviously Barrow recently played and recently beat us, so
Yeah.
the whole thing's stupid anyway in how our performances relate. But yeah, essentially Newport's the last chance, but we might beat Newport and still not,
Yeah.
because Bolton are absolutely flying and
And
probably going to get
never mind
automatic.
Bolton. We could well not beat Grimsby.
Yeah.
As we've demonstrated. With Newport and Stevenage. Anyway, sorry, not Newport, with Cambridge and Stevenage. But so Newport first. That means that old Gary Wilmot won't be able to play.
Yeah.
Because Newport are his parent club.
Yeah. I mean, the
They
last
gave
game...
birth to him. And
yeah,
he will not betray that. Oh, he's legally not allowed to.
Oh, yeah. It's got nothing to do with...
I'd love it if he...
Fake moustache?
Yeah, if he could we could sneak him in,
Barry Wilmot.
Yeah. But his name's not even Gary Wilmot. So
Oh, yeah, what is his
doesn't
name?
matter. Liam?
No. Robbie.
Robbie.
So if he called himself Nobby Wilmot...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobby Billmot.
Yeah, no one would know.
No chance.
But probably someone will notice, so he won't be able to do it. So yeah, so that's Newport.
Well, one of his own parents is bound to notice him, aren't they? That's
so.
not Nobby Billmot, that's my son.
So yeah, we'll see what becomes of that. I mean, I am not optimistic. I'm not. Are you?
No, but I've never been optimistic.
No, that's true.
I don't know. I think there's every chance we beat Newport. The worrying thing is, I suppose, is we haven't been very good at creating chances, have we?
No.
A little bit better yesterday. We did create a few things. Obviously, there's the Cambridge game. I think it very much relies on how they come at us, because I'm not sure. It's not like we're just going like we're doing our thing, and like we were talking about last week. We don't just do our thing and then the opposition's either up to it or they're not.
Yeah.
It kind of depends on how they play as to how we play, and if they decide to sit back and have a lot of men behind the ball, we'll be in trouble. If they decide to press us high like Forest Green did last night, we could be in trouble too.
So what you're saying is we're probably in trouble.
We could well be.
I think also it's to do with, I think the players forget who they are or forget what the team is. So we score early on. They're like, oh yeah, that's right, we're the free scoring Exeter City. And then they're like olaying as they pass it to each other. And if we don't score in the first half or an hour gone, they're like, oh yeah, we're...
I think it is that. I think this is a very kind of, you can't really quantify this, but how our kind of mental strength as a team is probably quite a lot to do with the way the results go. And that again would kind of fit with how kind of almost kind of Jekyll and Hyde we've been this season. There's been 2 Exeter Cities, hasn't there? And kind of none in between. There's been this kind of like hideous, boring,
just get
boot
rid of
it up
yeah.
kind of, and to booting it up to people who aren't good in the air, kind of like terrible to watch Exeter City. Or there's the incredible free-flowing kind of like team goal kind of like Exeter City, and there's never been anything in between. It's just like one or the other.
I wonder if it's partly to do with where our goals have or haven't come from. Like Jay scored a lot, Bowman scored some, Joel Randall scored some. Apart from that, I know the odd player has got the odd one, but No,
that's right, yeah. But then that in a way that kind of should be enough, really, because Bowman and Jay have played the entire season, and and Randall, fair enough, he's had 2 significant periods out.
Yeah.
But he's been replaced by other people who, if they can't score themselves, should at least be able to facilitate more scoring by Jay and Bowman.
Yeah.
Whether that's Barry Zilmot or Randell Williams, or whoever else, Jack Sparks. It should work. I mean, I get it more if we kind of like Matt Jay was injured too and we suddenly stopped scoring. But that's not the case, is it?
No. It feels like...
We can't put it all on Joel Randall, is kind of what I'm saying here,
No. I really feel like it was that Newport game that was the turning point last time. It's funny, isn't it? Bowman obviously sent off. If we'd won the thing, obviously that's 2 extra points because we drew it, and then we trundle on. We won the next game. We beat Colchester, which was an excellent game. Then we lose to Crawley, and I think Crawley was when Taylor started being like, right, I'm just defending. I'm just doing this weird lineup. And from then on, I think either the players didn't really know what was expected, and so sometimes we go and do something amazing, beat Leyton Orient 4-0, but then other times we go and just look like we've never seen the goal before.
Yeah, and add into that tired.
Yeah.
Not one or the other. I'm not saying one doesn't. It's not. I'm not saying this is what it is, and the argument is no, they're tired. It's both. It's that, and then also we're playing too many games.
Yeah.
Not too many games, but the same amount of games, but in a too smaller period of time.
And as we've acknowledged, and as Taylor's said, his squad is half the size of some other squads, and
then partly
his own fault.
Not fault, but doing.
Yeah. Well,
we don't know what's going on with Jose. That may well not be Matt Taylor's fault at all, but he did buy him.
And I just think, like, as we've said before, and obviously this is really, you've all heard this before, listeners, and you all think this the same, but why are some of those other players not being given half an hour instead of 5 minutes? So
that's the kind of thing from the last couple of matches and other games too, isn't it?
Yeah. Because they're tired. So Bowman's tired, Jay's tired, understandably so. They're playing every week, twice a week, most, if not all of the game. Then Fisher comes on. Now, there's the assumption that Fisher won't score. Fine. But Bowman's not scoring either. And he's definitely, you can already tell with Bowman when he's not going to score or when he's not being effective. Like, you can tell with an hour.
Yeah.
So at that point, you think, all right, well, no one's going to score now. I'm bringing him off anyway. At least he'll have half an hour more on his legs next week. Yeah. And it's that kind of thing that Taylor's kind of flummoxed me on, really. Like,
I agree, and also I don't necessarily agree. We started like this in certain games when Bowman was suspended. That you don't have to. It doesn't have to be. Well, Bowman holds it up and he's tall, so we have to have that type of player. So even if you didn't want to play Alex Fisher because you thought, I don't know, he's not good enough, whatever, then why not give Ben Seymour more time? You know, this was the main thing we were banging on about, Taylor himself, when, like I said, when Bowman was suspended and he was like, Ben Seymour's going to get his chance. And then even after Bowman, supposedly after Bowman was back, it was like, well, you know, he's going to have to win his place back. And it's sort of like, yeah, well, okay, they did. Yeah. And then he starts going downhill and not affecting games. And then Ben Seymour doesn't get a chance. Yeah. He gets 5 minutes here and there. He gets 10 minutes at most. You know, it's like I said last week, it's a little bit, I feel like it's a bit unfair on him. Not necessarily that's doing the wrong thing for his progression as a player, but in the eyes of the supporters, maybe not a couple of kind of like, intelligent fellas like you and I, but like some... No, but everyone, you know, you start thinking, oh, this guy's like no good. Whether you kind of like, I'm not going to go and like type it onto Facebook and go like, shit, you know, because I don't think that and because I'm not an idiot. But like, you start to have a certain opinion of players starts to form, and it's not really your fault. You've only ever seen him play for 5 minutes here and there. Yeah,
that's right. So that's the kind of element of the downfall, I guess, like an unused or an underused squad, which is already stretched. As in, like, those first 15 are stretched, aren't they? You know, and I think...
Well, who wouldn't be? But then, if a bigger squad, maybe. But
yeah. I mean...
But then we let Nicky Law go, didn't we? Which...
Did we
have to do that? I mean, I know it's a nice thing to do in a way, but, like, you know, I mean, it's not exactly like he got offered, like, to play for Real Madrid. It's like, it's his dream to play for the Indiana Earthquakes, whatever they're called. No one's even ever heard of them.
No.
You're telling me Nicky Law knew all about them, did he?
I know
it's got opportunity or whatever, but because, like, mate, do you know what? I mean, you're only 30, you're only like your early to mid-30s. It's not like, once in, you know, like, I'm sure you could go and be a coach at any number of kind of like, essentially kind of like, conference level American teams in a year.
Yeah.
Do you mean it's not like he got offered the manager of LA Galaxy?
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like, could we not go like, you know what, mate? Just stick around for the rest of the season because we really need you. Yeah. And then at the end of the season, there'll probably be jobs going, won't there? Do you know what I mean? You want to be a coach at a kind of like an American team no one's ever heard of. I mean,
and you know,
I think you'll probably be able to get a job.
Yeah, I think that's right. And
I mean, I know we've changed our tune on this. Before I was going like, good luck to him. He could never turn that down.
I think if you want to let him go, but then be dynamic in your response, because they were like kind of a shoulder shrug and like, we'll just limp on to the end of the season then. But
Well, we didn't have time to replace him, so that should have been like,
but
sorry,
I don't
mate.
believe that. That conversation didn't start a day before he went, did it? Like,
I guess not, but maybe I appreciate it's hard to get somebody in. Maybe we could we have done more. We will never really know.
I just think there's enough squads. I think there's enough clubs pushed financially at the minute, with particularly Championship and League One level, with excess squad members who are known to be able to do a job in the style of Nicky Law, right?
Yeah.
Who you just think, let's go after. I mean, what was it? He went at the end of January.
Only half a season, isn't it? On half a season on
4
loan
months.
because we've got someone.
That team saves their 4 months of money on someone who's probably only
Yeah.
getting 20 minutes of match time.
It's not that bad down here, is it? You know.
No, and
Yeah,
we're not
maybe
training
you're right.
anyway. You know, like we're not training anyway. So, what's the expectation? Like,
Yeah.
I can't think of a particular player, but
No, but they do. We know they exist.
yeah. Where's the dynamic response there? That's
We know
what I'm
that
asking.
championship. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it was a passive response at best. It was just like, oh well, this is happening, and
It's not like his legs come off the day after the transfer window's closed. You know,
No.
like that's something you can't do anything about. This is very clearly they decided to say yes. They would have known before the day he went, obviously, and surely it's the job of somebody, not necessarily Taylor because he's busy enough, but of somebody to be like, these are the 50 players who, if something catastrophic happens to Bowman, to our goalkeeper, to Matt J, that we will look to bring in
Yeah.
when we can. Like those.
Taggy should be getting in that
Well, maybe that's him, and maybe that's not. I don't know.
Range Rover and driving up the M5 and finding a centre mid.
I mean, nothing is easier than watching football these days. Like, it's just available everywhere. Like, you should be able to watch 10 games a week.
Yeah, it's not like clubs don't need to have this subscription either. They can like watch whatever they
Of
want.
course.
You know?
Like, and you know, we've got good relationships with some clubs. Maybe lots of clubs, I don't even know. But there are some clubs that we've sold players to, and the business has been done properly. We've bought players from previously, that we loan players from. It's that thing that we seem to be lacking on. And I don't blame Taylor. And I think people in their minds have got the Harry Redknapp model of like management, where you've got this little black book of like, oh, well, I used to go for a drink with Bill, and I used to, you know, I gave Gary's son a chance. Well, like, that doesn't exist anymore. So what are we doing to dynamically make stuff happen? You know, like you hear about these other clubs, and they've got 10 people, 20 people around the country who make those connections.
Yeah, well, the other thing is, I mean, they're paying agents, aren't they? We know that's what Salford are doing. You see, the figures for that recently were released of how much, and we weren't bottom of that list by any stretch of the imagination. So we are doing it.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah.
and because we have signed players, and you know, but you're right. It's strange that we couldn't find somebody to come in because it's because we've had Carry Kite on the bench a few times.
Yeah.
No, he hasn't played. So does that mean so I can only assume that means he's not ready for the first team for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So we needed to buy someone because the alternative isn't ready. So we need to get not buy, but loan or whatever. Get someone on a short-term deal, or I don't know. It's at that point in the season we were doing pretty well, and it looked like we could needed to maintain that. Now with a small squad, I think that was a bit of a unrealistic expectation.
Yeah.
To be able to think we don't need to replace Nicky Law. We're doing fine. We'll do fine with what we've got here. You know?
I think that's the kind of wider problem of the team and the club is our narrative used to be saved from the jaws of being closed down, saved from the jaws of bankruptcy, saved from the jaws of like being like Macclesfield or whoever. We're not like that. That's 20 years ago. So what's the rest of that story? We're not going to be just the club that got saved forever. In 20 years' time, 20 more clubs will be trust clubs with you know.
Well, also we're already the club with the good academy, aren't we?
Yeah.
You're looking at the successes we've had. We don't need to name them. Everyone knows them. We're already that club. Now, that's got to have some sort of benefit. You know, that's got to have some sort of... That has to translate, because we've already had the thing where we've sold the players. We've got the money. Not always to the amount we deserve.
Yeah.
In a lot of the cases. But sometimes it does. Where some of them, it's like, that's genuinely kind of... You put the hard work in, all the people at the club, all the people training them, and the youth set up, Tisdale, whoever else, Tag, all these people... And then that has to translate into some sort of, it has to mean something.
Yeah.
You have to use that money to progress.
Yeah.
And not just to buy an electronic scoreboard.
No, that's right. And I think
Not to bang on that about that too much, because but
I just think there's an overarching narrative. No, I said narrative too much. There's an overarching belief coming from somewhere that it would be a disaster if we went to the Championship. Right? You hear that, right? It should be a disaster if we went to the Championship. And therefore, the belief is the ceiling of our ever potential achievements is League One, is surviving in League One, right? Well, what a boring story that is. Like, I know that's all we've ever achieved. Why? By no means am I saying we sell all our silver to push really hard, but you've got to ask us to buy into something that isn't just survival or maybe surviving the next league up.
I think things that have happened in the footballing world in this country this week have shown us probably why, as things stand, that is probably our ceiling. Do you know what I mean? Because money is still a big thing in the game, and hopefully we're on the right side of this, and that we're already kind of in the future that these other kind of clubs perhaps are beginning to imagine. That with fan ownership and things like that. So hopefully, at some point, we could start to maybe think about having kind of dreams beyond what's realistic at the moment. But we should, at the moment, it doesn't even seem like we've got the ambition to be in League One.
No, it doesn't.
And that's what they're showing us by
letting players go.
By letting players go and not replacing them,
Yeah.
And that's what they're saying. They going like, well, we'll get you a scoreboard. It's like, that ain't going to get us into League One, is it?
No.
And that's, like you said, that's a modest ambition. And maybe, hopefully, at some point in the future, like as a reward for like kind of running the club the right way, we should be able to hope for more. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be necessarily realistic in the short term, but hopefully one day.
But then, like you look at Wickham, and they've made it to the Championship for the first time ever with the same manager that we were competing against 2 years ago.
Yeah, but would you want him managing?
No, of course I wouldn't.
But I'm saying his cowboy boots on the touchline.
Not. But they've come from the same place as us, and they'll come back again.
Yeah.
But they've had a ride, and as far as I understand it, those are largely the same players that got them up, through the league. So it's not that I want mad success. It's that I want there to be clear signs of ambition. Just even if it's in terms of sustainability. So we've had the same number of trust members now for going on 20 years. Now, some people will have dropped out, some people will have died, but our trust membership is below 4,000 still.
Well, to be honest, we were banging this drum a couple of years ago
Yeah.
about how often do you ever see anything about
joining the trust? So we all leapt into action this week because of the Super League. But
a few people did, but as a result of external things happening. It's nothing to do, we didn't push for it. And I know there's a bit of a kind of weird disconnect, isn't there, between the club and the trust on a certain level. Is that right? Whatever. Yeah. That's irrelevant because we should be doing more. And then every year kind of the trustees, I'm not criticising them, like they're doing this out of their own free time and because they want to do it. And I firmly believe that their hands are tied or whatever reason they can't do it. But every year the candidates say they're going to try and increase membership, and every year it doesn't increase.
I think we need to be looking, like, honestly, genuinely, why can't we have 10,000 trust members? Like,
that's a very modest amount, and we should be aiming for that.
Yeah.
And it should just be like, right, this is what we need, and this is how many trust members we want. How do we get them?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's people out, like...
Yeah. And, like other things, more like organic things, like the fund that pays for Noah Smurden at the minute, that's just a couple of fellas who got together and were like, right, let's just do this. We can pay for a player. Like, that's just them organising themselves. It's literally an email address and a direct debit. And they can manage to pay for an extra player. And you think, I would think the trust would be better. Instead of a scoreboard, employ someone, because, like the National Trust, literally they employ people who increase the numbers of members. Like, that's their job.
Yeah.
Like, do the same. Set up a stall in town. And, we've got, there's definite theories around direct debits, and that's how charities work, where if someone signs up to a direct debit where they don't even notice it coming out every month, it just stays there forever. Like, that's what the trust should be working on. That kind of stuff could be massive. And
well, and you know what? You might find you don't have to trick people into doing it.
No, I'm not even...
I know what you're saying, but people would probably, if you tell them the vision and you say, look, this is what it's all about, they might go, oh, do you know what? I didn't even know.
Yeah.
And I'm well up for that.
Yeah. That's right.
Here's my £2 a month.
Yeah.
Is it that much? Something like that, isn't it?
£2 a month.
Here's my £2 a month. It's not a hard sell.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Even if they couldn't even come to any games, people might be up for it. Especially, I don't know.
It's really interesting seeing the response to the Super League and people reminded of and reminding themselves of what football's about historically in this country. And so Everton did this kind of tweet that went completely viral, didn't they, of someone talking about the experience on a Saturday. But people buy into that stuff. And I really remember, this is completely pathetic in a way, but completely brilliant in another way. Like our church, when City looked like they were going to go down the Swanee 20 years ago, just someone who lived on the estate was just like, I think that the church should be supporting the football club. I think it's important that a town has a football club. That person had no interest in football. She just clocked that was important. And I think that's true. I think so many people believe that it's important that towns have football clubs and all the stuff they can do. And we know all the stuff that like the community trust does. That's outside of just somewhere that 5,000 people can go on a Saturday. That's got to be something that we remind.
You know what? I totally agree. But I mean, it's one thing us just saying this, shouting into the void. In it, I think what we need to do is, I'm just talking within, is go to the meetings.
Yeah, we do.
Is go to the trust meetings. We need to, we can't just expect people to hear this and think anything of it. But that's what. Yeah, I think that's it. We need to make this known, don't we? I mean, I don't think it's simple. That's why I'm not having a go at anybody who's out there, maybe trying to get members. But
I think we've clocked it. I think the place for investment is in not asking volunteers to do more volunteering. It's in finding the money to employ people with clear targets.
Well, yeah, and I think that's realistic when we're talking about buying stuff we don't need.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So, and that's got
in this day and age, it's the last thing. You don't need a scoreboard. It's just, don't even call it a scoreboard. Call it huge advertising screen, because all the information that the club can give you on a scoreboard, everyone's already got in their pocket anyway on their phone.
Yeah,
you don't need to know any of that stuff that they're going to tell you. It's just for advertising. Now, we're suggesting that you use that same money to generate money in a different way via trust membership, which is more valuable than getting a bit of cash off Vosper's or Creeley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we would not think it was a gamble to invest in a player with a 2-year contract who had a bit of promise. So why shouldn't we invest in the kind of infrastructure that could provide much longer term success? And, something to think about, everyone. Sorry, we've gone on far too much about logistics when we're just here to talk about football, but I think it's really important.
There wasn't much football to talk about.
That's true.
So, well done if you made it through all that, especially after this whole week of having to talk about hideous football kind of structure.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got 4 games left to enjoy. Hopefully they are enjoyable. I'm looking for something more than Southend, if I'm honest.
I'd just love to see a goal, me.
You want the mean on a stick, Dan? A goal would be nice, wouldn't it? Hey, thanks for listening. You can get in touch with us in all the normal ways. Twitter @BigBankPod. BigBankPod@gmail.com, or on Facebook with the Big Bank Theory Podcast. We love to hear from you. We especially love to hear from the anonymous person who told us that they are our one listener in Vietnam.
Well, they're a listener in Vietnam. Maybe we've got more than one.
Maybe we have. It'd be good to know. If you're not that guy, if you haven't yet left us a review, you can always do that. We'd like to hear your reviews, where you're listening from.
Thanks for all those reviews, and for anyone who has got in touch. We
always love it.
Appreciated.
Have you seen any stickers around town yet? Listeners, if you have, let us know about that as well.
Have you put any up?
Put one up.
No, I've only put one up as well. So
it's probably unlikely you've seen one there. We'll get on. We'll do that a bit better.
I'll do some today. I don't know. Yeah. Look, keep an eye out. Keep a very keen eye out.
Very keen, because there's only 2. Thanks for listening.
The hardest Where's Wally of all time.
Yeah, I'll tell you where's Wally is. He's on the podcast. Thanks for listening. My name's John. I've been here with my friend and colleague Dan.
Cheers.
See you soon.